Hello, Awesome Soul here, and welcome back to some more Robocraft news. Yes, it just seems to keep coming now, which is certainly a welcome addition. But yes, as you read by the title, we have some rather interesting news. And that is the Infinity version. Basically, the Xbox version is kind of going to be replacing the classic Robocraft. Now, actually, about a week or so back, Mark on Twitter kind of threw out this idea, and it seemed to be relatively positive, at least as far as feedback goes. So it looks like they are, in fact, going ahead with it. Now, the reason that they are going to be doing this is, as they state in the article that you should be able to find linked down below, they are, obviously, a small team. They are an independent studio, after all. So they've kind of got themselves in a weird position, where they have kind of one game, but it's also 3 games, and because of that, they've split their team into 3 smaller teams. Because right now, they have the Robocraft Classic version, aka the Steam and Launcher version, the Robocraft Infinity version for Xbox One, and the free-to-play Robocraft Infinity specifically for China. And with them splitting themselves up like this, it is, I don't know, it just seems kind of odd to me that they're doing this in the first place. I mean, having multiple versions of the same game and having slightly different features in each, so it would warrant a couple people being specialized into the Xbox version and a couple people specialized into the Chinese version, and so on and so forth. So at the very least, consolidating it down from 3 versions to 2 versions definitely does make a lot of sense. It should make updates come out a lot faster, and honestly, I think there are a lot of good things that can come out of this. And on that note, I will go through their little list here of points and give my thoughts and opinions on them. So those of you who obviously know about Infinity and why it's called Infinity, well, yes, that change will happen to regular Robocraft. So once you unlock a part in the tech tree, you can then place an infinite number of those on your robot. So let's say you unlock the PSK. You now have an infinite number of PSKs. You don't have 1 PSK or 2 PSKs. You can place however many you want on any robot, on any garage bay slot. So that's pretty cool if you ask me. There is still a grind to unlock things, but now it seems like there's no longer a grind to actually make as many cool robots as you want. If you now have the gyro mortar, you can play around with the gyro mortar as often as you would like. And a really, really massive change is that there are going to be more colors. For those creative players such as myself, this is something we have wanted for a very, very long time. This means that free players will have access to 8 colors, whereas premium players will have access to 32 colors. And an example of this can be seen on screen before you. Credit to Rocky Lars over on the Robocraft subreddit for the image. There are also going to be some changes to the CRF. So, robots can be downloaded for free as long as you have the parts necessary unlocked. Now, this is a good thing and also slightly a bad thing, but it's not really too terrible. There has to be a limit somehow. Now, somewhat interesting here, robots are still going to be in the game, even though you don't actually have to buy individual items anymore. How they are going to work is that you can now use them to buy cosmetics. So you can use robots or cosmetic credits in the store. Though it should be noted, some cosmetics will remain exclusive, meaning that you can only buy them with the cosmetic credits and not robots. I assume things like the bubble blower would probably fall into that category. Though, not to worry, they say that the majority of cosmetics will be forgeable with robots. There's also going to be some user interface changes, such as a new main menu with a split screen showing your selected robot on the right side. The dynamic user interface, or the UI, is going to have visual improvements overall to handle higher resolutions, which are quite nice. Although I don't really know of too many people who have monitors higher than 1080, but I'm sure that number will grow over time. Tooltips and improved crosshairs in battle will also be a thing, and improved lighting in environments, which is quite nice. This means that the game overall will look a lot prettier. The next point might seem like something small, but I don't know about you, but as far as myself, this has been something that's always bugged me, and it's the fact that once you're actually in a match, you're unable to change your control settings. That will no longer be the case, as they say, controls can be changed via the pause menu. And you can also switch from keyboard controls to camera controls mid-battle. Say, for example, you roll into battle with the wrong setup. I actually did this in one of the videos I recorded recently. You can just simply hit pause and then fix your mistake without having to play the entire match with a setup that you're not familiar with. Some other minor things they're adding is that the game will check if you actually have functional parts on your robot before entering battle. So no more accidentally going into battle without any weapons or movement parts. This also means that trolls will be unable to ruin your fun. There will be building shortcut hints for new players, though you can disable them. And something kind of cool, but it seems like they're still implementing it, and that is a robot voting system. So players at the end of a battle will be able to vote on who has the best robot. A neat touch there, though what I would like to see is two categories. One for the coolest looking robot, and the other for the most deadly robot, I guess we can call it. You know, something like that. But maybe in the match you're in, there might not be the greatest robot combat-wise, but it gave you a laugh throughout the entire match, every time you saw it. So you would then vote for that one. And it's obvious the player actually put a lot of time and effort into designing this creation. Obviously, it got some kills, and it did contribute to the team. However, another team member has the ultimate killing machine. So, if there's only one way to vote, which one would you vote for? Might get a little confusing. So, that's why I propose a 2-vote system. Or rather, a 2-category system. And finally, the last two main changes, they say here, are upgrading the game to a newer version of the Unity game engine. This would most likely bring a couple perks and probably some bugs with it, but overall, it should make the game look a lot better. And hopefully play better too, but I'm not too sure about that. We'll have to wait and see. And lastly, network communication technology improvements. Whatever that means. I simply assume that means better connection, less drops, less lag, etc., etc. Of course, that's on Freejam's end. You have to understand that not everything is Freejam's problem. If you have bad internet, that's not Freejam's problem, that's your problem. They can only fix their end, not yours. Just a friendly little reminder there. But yes, to close it out, they do have a few things that will not be changing. And this would be the CPU cost of parts will remain the same. As some of you might know, in Infinity, the CPU cost is different for all parts across the board. And also, parts will remain the same on Steam. What this means is basically things like hovers, for example. The models for them have changed drastically. They are actually scaled up in size, similar to how the wheels were. So those are going to remain the same, which personally I think is a little sad. I was kind of hoping that we would get them, because really, you only need 2 sizes of hover, maybe 3. But then again, how often do people actually use the mega hover? So really, you only need the big non-mega hover and maybe the tiny hover if you just want to kind of pack them in as tight as possible. Because without giving a varied size range, they're a little pointless. And hey, if you wanted to have the same size as the largest non-mega, you can just simply use the smallest size of the Infinity Hover. Obviously with a couple tweaks there, but you get more or less the same product. Something that can easily be hidden inside of a robot. Because I mean, hovers definitely have a major advantage over all of the other movement parts because they are the only one that can really be fully internalized, making their one drawback, their low health, kind of pointless, honestly, because if you encase them in a shell of armor, because you'll need to blast through layers of armor before you can actually get to that low health part. And finally, nominal counts for weapons will stay the same. Also, it should be noted, closing out this article, they say, "Thanks for reading, and as always, please leave your feedback. Nothing is set in stone, and everything can be influenced by your feedback." So what we have here is more or less a proposal, though it seems like they really want to do it, and honestly, I'm fine with them doing this. There isn't really anything in here that I'm kind of iffy about, and most of it is really an upgrade to everything we have now. Or maybe it's a downgrade. That could be your opinion, and if it is, I would like to hear it. Of course, any other opinion would also be nice to get feedback on as well. But yes, with that, I of course have been the Awesome Soul. I thank you all so very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.